I went all through the Millville school system, graduated Millville High in 1969, and went off to college where I studied pharmacy and became a registered pharmacist. And I came back here to Cumberland County after college and practiced my profession of pharmacy. And always having the entrepreneurial spirit, I always thought I would own my own pharmacy one day. So I did work in retail pharmacy, trying to learn the business, and I did. And this was during the 1970s, and one thing I uncovered was during that time, the chain pharmacies were becoming more prevalent, and they were setting out to push out the independent pharmacists from business. And unfortunately, they succeeded at that. Years ago, independent pharmacists made a nice living. But in the 70s and then in the 80s, there were more and more chains, fewer and fewer independents. So my personal story is I was raised on a chicken farm in Millville. And when I graduated college, my folks decided to sell the farm. They worked the chicken farm for 25 years and was never able to take vacation because working livestock is a 7-day-a-week job. So around the time I graduated college, they bought a little motel right outside of Vineland. It was called the Buena Vista Motel. My folks, being immigrants, had asked that I help them out in the motel business while I'm working at pharmacy because being immigrants, they were concerned about dealing with customers. You know, the chickens didn't care what language they spoke, but working with customers, they were concerned about their accents. They wrote phonetically, so I was happy to help them out. We always worked together as a family. And after some time, my folks saw that they were doing just fine. The customers loved them, and I continued my work in the pharmacy. But as I was saying, I saw that the chains were pushing out the independents. So after a couple years of that, I said to my folks, you know what? I think I'd rather join you in the motel business than try to pursue a career as an independent pharmacist. So they agreed, and we bought a second motel in Wildwood, little seasonal place called the Lollipop Motel. Not just for suckers was my motto. That's just a joke. But my wife and I ran that little motel for the summer times. And at that time, my folks were getting up in age, so they were going to Florida for the winter while my wife and I ran their Buena Vista Motel. Then I have a younger brother who graduated college as an accountant, worked in his profession for a while, and decided he wanted to join the family business. So we bought a third motel in Vineland. It was called the Circle Plaza Motel. That Circle Plaza Motel was kind of run down, but we fixed it up and saw that it was doing a brisk business, especially with commercial business people. So we bought an adjacent piece of ground and expanded it, but we franchised it into a Days Inn. And that was our forte into brand name hotels. So where we went from there, a recession came along. It opened in 88, a recession came along in 90, 91, and we were having trouble competing with full-service hotels. There were a couple independent hotels that had restaurant and cocktail lounge, so my brother and I decided that's what we needed. So we bought another adjacent piece of ground and developed a Denny's restaurant. And it also had a cocktail lounge, the only one in New Jersey with a cocktail lounge. And by golly, the month we opened Denny's restaurant and cocktail lounge, business at Days Inn turned around. The traveling public during that time in the 90s, they wanted to stay at hotels where they could eat, drink, sleep, all in the same location rather than driving to a restaurant. So now it's my parents, me, my brother, and we saw that Days Inn was doing very well. So we started exploring another hotel, and that's when we developed the Wingate Inn in Vineland on Landis Avenue, right by Route 55. And we knew we eventually wanted to put a restaurant there as well. So we bought a ground big enough for the hotel and the restaurant. Wingate opened at around the year 2000. And around 2006, we opened a Bennigan's restaurant on the lot. From there, it was an outside developer, built a Holiday Inn Express, who just couldn't make a go out of it for whatever reason, so Henry and I bought that. Then we wanted to expand in the restaurant business, so we opened a second Denny's in Northfield, New Jersey, and eventually opened a third Denny's in Millville. Also developed a Hampton Inn in Vineland next to our Wingate Inn. So in all, at the peak of our business, we had 4 hotels and 4 restaurants and a management company that ran it all. We have since sold our restaurants, and we sold one of our older hotels. The Days Inn was an exterior corridor, an older property. So we currently have 3 business class hotels, all in Vineland, here in Cumberland County, where I grew up and still live and work.